Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another interview. I'm Michael from Geek Vibes Nation, and today I'm joined by Tennille Reed of SYFY's newest show, Surreal Estate. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. I'm in Toronto right now and it's another gray, drizzly day, which is so unusual for our summers here. But what are you going to do?
Before we get into the show, would you be willing to tell our audience just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Toronto based. I live with my fiance right now and our dog Barrington. He's a Boston Terrier, and
Oh,
I mean, I know I'm probably biased, but he is the cutest dog in the world.
naturally.
Naturally. Um, yeah, I have been acting for almost a decade now, and a lot of people know me from my work on Working Moms as Bianca, mother to the ugly baby. And yeah, what else? What else can I tell you?
Well, you can talk about Surreal Estate a little bit. Um, you play Megan Donovan on the show, and she owns this really haunted house that seems to have a very specific connection with Tim Rozon's character. And I'm curious what else you can say about Megan.
Hmm. Yeah, I think we meet Megan when she's kind of at a crossroads in her life. She is a med student and she has inherited this giant mansion from her grandfather who's passed. She's engaged to Brock and she's starting to see these weird things and hear things in her house. And all of a sudden, everything that she thinks is real kind of gets a little bit messed up for her. So she meets Luke Roman when he shows up on her doorstep on one of those fateful rainy nights and um, tells her that he can help solve the problems she has with her house. And it's the beginning of their relationship together because he becomes her real estate agent. And it's also the beginning of a more personal relationship because he's showing such kindness and he's there, something that Brock is not. He seems to be working a lot of late hours. And they develop a neat relationship.
So speaking of Luke, many of your character or many of your scenes are with him specifically as opposed to the rest of the ensemble. And I'm curious what your dynamic with Tim Rozon was like.
It was a really great dynamic. I had heard so much about him and I'd never worked with him before. But I had heard that he's a really good guy. And sure enough, he really is. So it was a joy to show up to set and have scenes with him. He's always present and he just gives. He's such a generous scene partner to act with. Uh, and also a lot of fun. So it was a good time to be able to play with someone like him.
Jumping back just a little bit, I'm curious how you ended up getting involved with the show and how you feel it differs from some of your past work.
I auditioned for it so I guess it was July of 2020, and it was a self-tape because there were no in-person auditions happening.
Mhm.
And so I taped these scenes for Megan, I sent it off, and then pretty much a month later, or maybe 3 weeks later, I heard back saying that they were offering me the part of Megan. Um, which was thrilling because I didn't have to go through a whole bunch of callbacks or stressful chemistry tests. It was such a clear offer and that felt so amazing. um and I guess this your second question was how it differs from other parts I've played.
Yeah.
or other projects I've been in.
Yeah.
Um, I've definitely never done something this sci-fi based before. And I kind of love it because there's so much imagination that goes into it. I've I really enjoy acting with like the ideas of special effects being applied afterwards. I feel like it's such a playground because you're, you know, reacting to stuff that's not actually there, which is challenging because it'll be put into the frame like in post.
Yeah.
But it also makes it really fun because you get to rely on your own imagination tenfold. And I have a very active imagination, so it's easy to envision what might be lurking in the corners.
Kind of speaking on that a little bit, so much of the show is kind of special effects heavy, I guess. And how do they how do you guys do that on set? How much of it is being done in camera versus like looking at like a tennis ball on a stick or something?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like a balance between the two because I remember, you know, in the pilot when that whole opening sequence is in Megan's house and she's trying to study and things keep happening. Aside from the exploding bookcase
Mhm.
and the flashing lightning coming through the windows, everything else was in post. So the whispers,
Yeah.
um, the fire, what happens with the fireplace, um, all of that comes later. So we were just reacting. I was just reacting to, okay, now we're timing this. Like, give this a beat, then you see this, then you hear this, and that's pretty much how it went. But then in other scenes, you know, I forget if it's this. No, it's still the first episode. It's still the pilot. When we see the portal in Megan's
Yeah.
grandfather's cellar, there's an arm that comes out of it, and that was part human with a really gnarly arm,
Ooh.
and then also part special effects that happened later with adding kind of like a lengthening to it, so it seemed a bit, you know, unreal and otherworldly.
It sounds like one of those things that's really fun to do, but also like really specific. Is that kind
Very,
of what it's like?
yeah, very, because you've got timing and eye line and different angles. There's an episode that comes later, which I won't talk too much about, but that special effect that they put on me, that required just kind of a very intricate choreography so that they had what they needed to work with later in post.
There's something, I think it's in the sixth episode, so I'm gonna be really vague about it. But there's this really cool sequence with your character towards the end of the episode, and it's like a series of events that are happening involving some interesting effects. And uh, I guess what was that like? I know that's such a vague question.
Very, very much uh, a game of choreography, really, because there were different people moving in, like different pieces coming into the shots, and then I would have to time it so that I was either engaging or avoiding in the right way, um, while also like, yeah, like reacting to what's happening. Um, but Mel directed that, Melanie Scrofano, and she is brilliant at doing stuff like that, and um, kind of mapped it out with me in a way that it became quite easy to execute.
So in terms of the rest of the season being like super vague,
Yeah.
what are you what are some things you're looking forward for the fans to kind of see happen?
Great question. I'm excited for the fans to learn more about our characters for sure. The show has done a wonderful job with slowly revealing everyone's backstories and more about their characters. And because the characters are so richly created by the writers and well thought through, um, I just think that's such a wonderful journey for a viewer, because you get to relate to these very colorful people. Um, I also think that they get to look forward to some pretty incredible cliffhangers coming up. You're not
Yep,
you know
I've
the one
seen
I'm
it.
talking about. But there's a few, yeah, there's a few. And so yeah, buckle in.
And kind of on the same note of very little spoilers, I don't think they've announced if there's going to be a second season yet. But let's assume we live in a world where there is. What would you like to see happen both for your character and for the show's kind of overall narrative?
Mm, yeah. For my own character, I would love to see her interact with some of the other characters even more. We do see that
Yeah.
as this season goes on. Um, but I mean, selfishly, I would just love to act with Sarah some more. um, and I'd like to see how Megan handles, this supernatural world, if she is going to be in relationship with Luke Roman. I'd like to see how she figures that out for herself without getting lost in his world too much.
Yeah,
Um,
I
oh, go ahead.
agree. No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I agree with that. That was one of the things that I really liked that they've been doing with Megan, which is that almost more than any other character, she's very much like she's almost the skeptic in this world. And it's been an absolute joy kind of watching you and the writers kind of navigate that line. And I think I agree. I think it'd be really cool for them to keep playing with that.
Yeah, it's so much a part of her skepticalness. It's not even a word. Her skepticism. And that's what makes her, good at what she does, which she's got such a science background. She's constantly questioning what she knows. So finding that, I mean, she is that voice of like reason and reality. Um, but it's interesting when you apply that kind of tension with like, well, but she feels things that are different to that, or she's seeing things that are different to that. And is there a way to find a harmony, or does it always have to be like a tension? It's interesting to explore.
Yeah, I asked this question to Adam Corson when I interviewed him a few weeks ago. And it's when you're working on a show like this with all the paranormal stuff, I think it's fun to ask the actors, do you believe in the paranormal slash have you ever had any kind of an unusual experience in that realm?
Hmm. I do believe in it. I I kind of keep a distance from it because it kind of scares me. um, but I've definitely had experiences where, the hair on my arm will stand up and my surroundings get a bit quiet, and there's like a super present energy around me. Um, and I can't deny that that might not be something passing through, a different energy, a different realm passing through that I'm experiencing. But yeah, as long as it's good, I'm a believer.
I agree. As long as it's good, it can chill all at once.
Oh yeah, totally.
Um, my last question for you is not related to the show at all, but it's what's your favorite thing that you're watching or reading right now?
Oh, great question. I just finished Tales from the Loop,
Ooh,
and I adored it so much. It's sci-fi, and the world of it is um, like a different kind of reality where there's a certain kind of technology and knowledge to the world, but each episode is very specific to like a different character, so you can watch it just episode like all out of order, and it wouldn't totally mess up the experience because they're quite contained. But it's the characters that really did it for me, and their exploration of these wonderful fleshed out characters, such like heart pull moments, and yet it's all in this world where like the science is in the background. You're always aware of this kind of present sci-fi experience happening behind the scenes. It's pretty cool.
I need to check it out because I haven't yet.
Yeah, check it out.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Before I let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to plug, or like places on social media that our audience could find you?
Oh yeah. Friday nights for the next 5 weeks at 10 o'clock. We the main cast, the 6 of us have been live tweeting, and it's been a lot of fun hearing people's responses and also engaging. It's great. So meet me there this Friday at 10 p.m.
What's your Twitter handle?
It's my first and last name, Tennille Reed.
That's an easy one.
It's an easy one. If you can get the spelling right. Yeah. It's an easy one.
Thank you again for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.